Good evening everybody and welcome back to the World Owl Trust for our Monday evening session. Tonight I'm going to be talking to you about signs and signals and what to look for to find our UK owls. And I'm joined this evening by Ezra, who is one of my long-eared owls. He's sitting quite quietly at the moment. He wasn't a few minutes ago, so I am expecting him at some point to launch himself off there. So please bear with us if that happens while I try and settle him down again. So we'll be looking at the things that you're going to need to look to hear, where to look, when to look for different owls at this time of the year. But before I start, just a reminder, I'm sure you're all well aware that all birds of prey, the owls are part of the birds of prey sector, and they, like all birds of prey, are protected. And that all birds' nests are protected during the breeding season at this time of the year. And then we have the section 1 birds, like the barn owl, that have another layer of protective regulation over the top, which means you literally can't go near the nests or have a look in them. You have to be licensed to do that. But on the basis of finding out where the birds are, let's have a look. So tawny owls. At the moment with the tawny owls, the youngsters have come out of the nest and they are now branching. So this was on our advert. These guys are actually in the barn. If you can see the two hunkered up at the top and the slightly braver chap there. They are very fluffy. They don't have any flight feathers, but they're exploring their surroundings, and they get a bit brave. They've got to do lots of wing flapping so that they can actually build up their flight muscles. And in the trees, here we have one which was provided by Ron Blackburn. This is one of the young tawnies near him. They're quite difficult to see when they sit there and shut their eyes, but if you're patient, just watch. Now these are the owls that are often found by members of the public, and people think that they've been abandoned. They simply haven't. They have been rushing around up in the canopy above you, got over enthusiastic and bounced, dropped down and fallen like a stone and hit the floor, but they are designed to bounce. So if you find one, just keep an eye on it, stand and watch to see if it's okay. If you're happy with it, then you can pick it up and put it on a branch. Don't take it away because it has the most amazing talons. It is designed to climb that tree, and there will be parents keeping an eye open for it. The chicks will be calling, the parents will be out busy feeding at night. I have been able to see our local tawny owls. They've been hunting along the back and the little lane between the two roads here, and they are calling again now. I've got a very active pair, particularly the male. He does his initial calls at about 10 o'clock, and then at 2 o'clock he was going for over an hour last night. She was totally ignoring him and then disappearing off. The calling times will change slightly as we move through the year, but if you want to find them then and you hear them, follow the call. The great thing about the tawny owls and the males in particular is that they will stand a torch being shone on them for a few minutes. So if you can locate where they are in the tree at night with a torch, they'll sing quite happily to you and you can chat back to them. They're really, really great engaging birds, and they're living amongst us. So you don't have to be in the countryside. You can be in the town and the city. They are with us wherever we live. And we'll be looking in a couple of weeks' time at how we can provide for them in our gardens and our communal areas to bring them in so that we can watch them and we can look after them. So the little owls, as we talked about last week, the little owls, oops, there we go. Thank you. You going to sit there? Right. Sorry about that. Everything's gone everywhere. The little owls, they have, as we talked about last week, they are now beginning to start their explorations of their surroundings at 21 weeks. They are about during the day as well, so keep your ears open because it's going to be the parents scolding them, and it's a high sort of yap, 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 yap noise. You'll find them around wilder parks in the towns. When I say wilder, those that haven't been shaved to death and cut clear. Around stables, farm buildings, anywhere where you've got middens, muck heaps, on the edge of the villages, where you've got big gardens, on the edge of farmland, where you've got plenty of beetle life. They'll be all around there. They also tend to sit on posts and signposts and telegraph poles. And if you find them in a place at a certain time of day, they are extremely sedentary. So they do tend to come back there at the same time. So once you've found them, then you can go back and find them again. And go on with your camera and get some really good shots. And particularly with the babies, they are very, very funny. They hunt in the mornings, so and then they are hunting in the evenings, particularly when the moths and things come out. They'll go after those. They're brilliant little guys. They hover over prey that they're after, and they do a lot of marching around and running around after food. Now the long-eared owls, these guys are harder to find. They don't make a lot of noise except during the breeding season. But now you are likely to be able to find them. They live on the edge of mixed woodland and conifer plantations. They hunt very like the barn owls in a wider space. I'm not going to go into too much detail about them today because next week I'll be doing a whole session on the long-eared owls and also incorporating information about the short-eared owls at the same time. Want to do them because they are starting molting now and they're actually still looking quite cool, but in a few weeks time we're going to start losing our ear feathers and then they look very odd. So like the tawny owls and the little owls, the long-ears come out of their nests at about 4 to 5 weeks, so they are branching too. So we have, they look a bit like Furbies at this age and they squeak. It sounds like a rusty gate, and it really does sound like a rusty gate. So if you get this continual squeaking noise, it can be quite grating. It's very, very strident. It really does get into your ears. When he was a baby and my other one was a baby, you were left under no illusions that they wanted food. So you may be able to locate them. I did meet a guy last year who had a photograph of one that he'd seen on the edge of a golf course. So they are about, but you have to really keep your eyes open. So they are around the country. They are one of the birds that are really difficult to survey and find. So we'd be absolutely thrilled if any of you come across them, if you could let us know, because that's part of our Project Owl. That would be part of our Project Owl data, and then we can have a look at habitats and make sure that they're being provided for in the areas that they're seen. So then we move on to our barn owls. Now the barn owls are have got young now. They've come off the eggs. They are in different stages around the country. I'm about to start monitoring ours at the end of this week. Sadie and I are going out to monitor those. We're not sure what we're going to find. We're hoping we're going to get there in time before they are start fledging. It depends what time they started breeding this year, but because of lockdown we haven't been able to get out until the lockdown measures have started to ease. But we'll report back to you, and we're going to be reporting while we're out. So when we go up and have a look at a nest, this is what we normally find. Now these guys were in one of my boxes a couple of years ago, and they are at different stages because the barn owls lay their eggs about 2.5 days apart, and she will start sitting pretty much immediately. And the reason for this is so that, as you can see, we've got different age groups, and on here we've got much older one, a couple of younger ones, and there was actually an egg in there as well, which hatched later. So we ended up with 4 chicks out of this one. And when we went back to check them, this is how much they'd grown. They're about 6, 7, the eldest about 6, 7 weeks old there. and when we went to ring him, he actually did make a bid for it, not very successfully, so we were able to put him back in his box once he'd been rung. So you can see here the difference in the age groups. So mum and dad are out hunting, and all the chicks are very, very hungry. They are constantly eating because they're constantly growing. The barn owls will stay in their boxes and their nest holes until they're ready to start fledging at about 10 weeks old. And they come out looking like barn owls. So mum and dad have got a major, major job on. This means that you will see barn owls at different times of the day. They will be coming out earlier, particularly if they've got a big clutch to feed. So they'll be coming out sort of 5 or 6 in the evening and going right the way through. Now the other problem with barn owls is they are not waterproof because they are silent flyers. They have absolutely no oil in their feathers. And so if we've had bad weather, wet weather, they will then, particularly at night, they'll be forced to come out during the day. Also, they fly silently so that they can hear their prey. So if we've got any wind, they're not going to be able to hear their prey very easily. So again, that will push them out to come out and hunt during the day. Now they're out over open farmland. They need what's called tusky grass, unmanaged grassland, where the grass has come up and dropped down and come up and dropped down, and it's created a litter layer of about 7 centimetres or so, which means their favourite prey, the short-tailed vole, which doesn't burrow into the ground, it actually forms tunnels and nests in all that tusky grass. That's where they live. And the number of barn owls that survive each year and the size of the clutches that are laid, there is a direct correlation we've found between them and the voles. And this year is apparently a good vole year. This is why we're getting very, very excited about going out. So this is, again, it's another lovely photograph taken by the trust friend Ron. Barn owl up near him in Lancashire. So that's what you would see when you're out. This amazing white bird, and they fly very beautifully and gracefully across the open grassland. When they see something that they want to go and this guy's actually heard something. So then he'll focus on it, then he will hover, and then he will come in and he will drop like a stone and catch his prey, and then that will go back to the youngsters. So that's where we're up to as far as where everybody is and what they're doing. Now the other things you can look out for is that when owls feed, they take all the nutritional stuff out of the food that they've eaten, out of their prey, and then at the end of that their body then creates a pellet. So I think Richard actually did a session on the barn owl, and he did on pellet dissection. So this is a barn owl, rather old barn owl pellet. So that will contain all the undigestible matter, so the fur, feathers and skeleton. So we'd be looking for those. This is a long-eared owl pellet, so slightly smaller. And the difference is that barn owl pellets are always brown. It doesn't matter what they eat. Everybody else's will change according to what they've eaten. So if they've eaten dark prey, it will be dark. If it's grey, it'll be grey. If it's light coloured, it'll be light coloured. Little owls. This is a little owl pellet that's been eating a bird. Little owl pellets often are very, very pretty. They look almost bejewelled because they've got all the shells of the beetles on them. So tawny owls. If you find, have a look round the bottom of the tree. If you think you've got tawny owls that are in trees, first thing you need to do is have a look round the bottom of the tree and see if you can find any pellets. If you find pellets there, that's probably the roost or a nest nearby. Barn owls and little owls, they're in and around buildings. They do have nest holes in trees, but because we cut all our dead trees down, there are less and less of those sites. Barn owls, again, look for the pellets on the floor. If you're going into an old barn, then you'll have a look and see if you've got fresh pellets are really shiny, so you can tell if you've got somebody who's been there recently. The other thing is splashing, and that is where they poo, and you'll get white splashes down the trees, in the neighbouring shrubs and bushes. Also you'll get them in on the side of the barns, and you also get them inside all the barns where they are. So they are big signs, lots of splashing, and particularly little owls, because little owls just poo, and so, I mean, barn owls leave an awful lot of mess behind them. So then you can work out whether these are the roosts or whether they're the nests, and you'll soon be able to tell the difference. The other thing is, we are now, oh, excuse me, they are also beginning to molt. So as the chicks grow, then they will molt, and this is one of Ezra's feathers. So the other thing to look out for is the feathers, and they will be at the bottom of underneath the roost or near the nest, and that is a good indication that you've got an owl nearby. And then mobbing. Now this is by other birds. The blackbirds around here go absolutely mad when our local tawny comes out, and they're screaming and shouting. So if you hear a blackbird that's going a bit crazy, sort of 8 or 9 o'clock at night, it's well worth going to investigate, because you could have a tawny owl. The other little birds all get together, and if they find an owl, which is very difficult to see, then for us, they will then start mobbing and shouting. So if you get a lot of noise coming from one tree from a lot of other birds, it's well worth an investigation. Look carefully, and you'll have to look underneath the canopy and up, and probably along the branches up against the trunks, because they tend to hunker up against them. These guys and the tawny owls go really long and thin, and they use their ears to break up their outline so that they hunker in against the trunk, which is their camouflage. But if you've got a good pair of binoculars and you look carefully, you'll see them. Tawny owls tend to think if they've got their eyes shut, I can't see you, you can't see me. But once you've got your senses in, you will find them. So those are a few ideas. And then you can actually plan your walks and plan your investigations. We would love for you to come and join, any of you that haven't join the trust. Free with the membership is our tracking app, and that app allows you not just to photograph, but also to photograph the birds, but also to track with text, so you can give us the information. It gives us the data of what you've seen and where you've seen it, so that we know where these owls are, and we can have a look how the populations are in each area. And then as part of Project Owl, we can then have a look at what habitat we've got there, whether we can expand that, enhance it, where it needs restoration. We can then get the history from people who've lived in the area from some time, whether those particular breeds of owls are growing in populations or have declined, and why. And we're looking to move that forward. It's a citizen science project, which we are looking to continue long term. So please come along and join us. Please get involved. We've been very careful to make sure that the memberships now are offered either on monthly, quarterly or annual payment schemes, which makes them affordable. And we will be offering more and more things with that membership as we move forward. We're hoping to do courses, and as we move forward in the year and lockdown eases, we'll also be looking at owl boxes, installations for people to have owl boxes in their gardens, if their gardens are big enough. If your garden isn't big enough, that doesn't mean to say you miss out. Then you can be involved in a barn owl adoption, and then you will be given information about that owl box. If it's near you and you'd like to be involved in monitoring that owl box, then you can join the groups that we will be putting together to do that job as well. So there's lots and lots to get involved with. These guys are an indicator species, so by looking after our owls, then we are looking after the rest of the food chain below them, increasing the biodiversity, increasing the natural world's biodiversity, and looking after everything, including us. It makes a better place for us. So very much hope that you will come and join us and participate in all this, and come and join the magical world of owls, because believe you me, once you've seen your first wild owl, you'll want to see more of them. They are absolutely amazing. Thank you for being with us this evening. Next week I'll be back here again at the same time, but with the long-eared owls. We'll look at them and the short-eared owls, and then the following week, weather permitting, I want to do a session about how you can ready your garden to get owls to come visit. It'll be particularly little owls and tawny owls, but we can do a lot. We've all worked on our gardens here. Some people haven't, they've just let it go wild. We don't have big gardens. They're quite long, but they're very narrow, and we now have tawny owls hunting through our gardens. I was watching one the other night, and there's nothing more rewarding. It's absolutely brilliant. So thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a good evening and a good week, and take care. Bye bye.